I'm John Millbank, I'm the consumer editor at Bennett's Bike Social. My job generally entails testing bikes, but a lot of testing products like this Techalogic Dc-1. It was the beginning of December when I got the chance to take this out, and I wanted to do a good long ride on the Interceptor 650 I had at the time. So I put the camera on the helmet and just did a really long route, and the idea was to be able to test it to see how it could pick up license plates of cars coming towards me. So, you know, you've got closing speed of up to like 120 mile an hour on back roads, and to see how it went throughout the day into sunlight and everything. And it was going really well, the ride, and I ended up doing some city stuff, which was I was doing at night, and it was as I was riding through the city, coming out of part of it, I was approaching a big roundabout, and it's a bit of an awkward roundabout really, because it kind of curves round. And I remember looking across, seeing that the roundabout was completely clear, but the two cars in front of me, the front one wasn't moving. So I just, as I slowed to a stop, looked forward, and then wallop, there was, I found myself on the floor trying to work out what was happening. And I'd been hit from the rear by a car that was also looking, seeing the clear roundabout. That hit me, and it wrote off the bike, and I came off. And it was unfortunate, it was one of those unlucky ones really, that as I went backwards, I twisted and caught myself and broke 2 ribs and punctured lung. And so I ended up in hospital. But yeah, it was just one of those unlucky ones really. But the main thing was, it was knowing, although I was out testing this, it was ironic that that's why I was out there. It was really nice knowing that as I was sitting there in A&E, looked on my phone, looked at the footage, knew it was all there. In the end, the driver was great. You know, he admitted liability straight away. It was all cleared up. Having that footage though, knowing that if anything happened, I had it all documented. It was very clear what would happen from front and rear. Just made a massive difference, even just to my peace of mind while I was in there waiting for my scans and stuff. Now in my case, the driver admitted liability, so it was fairly clear cut really. But besides that, honestly, it was massive peace of mind being in the hospital and knowing that everything was documented. This wasn't going to be a disaster. If things had have gone a different way and there had been arguments over what had happened, it was completely clear, even to the point that you could see where the driver was looking, you could see his face, you could see his number plate, of course. It was very clear what was happening, so there was absolutely no argument. So I think the fact that this gave me that documentation without fail, front and rear, is massively valuable. I've used a lot of different cameras on motorbikes, testing them, reviewing them, stuff like this. And as far as I know, this is the only one that's got a front and rear camera, unless you're going to try and do this with a 360 camera, which would be expensive, difficult, and very fragile. Having that front and rear is a massive, massive deal. It's not an action camera. It's not the kind of thing where you use it to make a movie of your big holiday. You can, but really it is meant to be that always on camera, and it's a dash cam that's always with you. You can, of course, have a dash cam fitted to the bike, but this is with you whatever bike you get on, and there are advantages I think to being able to see where you're looking. You know, if you want to see something to the side, obviously where you look, it looks, but it does have a good wide field of view. Certainly it picked up everything in my incident, and it was that unique form of it. And for the price, I think, you know, the only other way you could do this really is put a couple of GoPros on, which is going to be really expensive, or a couple of cheaper cameras. But still, this is loop recording. It's got a good battery life. If you want really long battery life, you can still power it while it's being charged, and you can get a waterproof USB cable for it. So there's a lot of advantages to it that, you know, really make it something that, if you want to make sure everything you're doing is captured, this seems the best way of doing it that I've found.